Boys and girls, today we're going to take a deep dive into the world of ribbon microphones. Welcome to Pasadena, California, the home of Eddie Van Halen. Today we are visiting AEA Microphones. We are visiting their workshop where they make some of the finest ribbon microphones out there. In this video, I want to see how they hand make their microphones, and most importantly, I want to take some of the mics with me because tomorrow I have a guitar reamping session in a studio in LA, and I want to check out all the different AEA ribbon microphones on a 4x12 guitar cab. That's going to be a lot of fun. Follow me inside. As you might remember, just recently I did a drum recording session at Tool House Studios in Germany where I used AEA ribbon mics exclusively. Not only as overheads or room mics, even on the drum shells. And that actually started as an experiment. It was interesting, but for me that was rather something scientific. And I did not expect the drums to sound that great. Everything sounded fantastic, I gotta say that, and I fell in love with those microphones. I was seriously impressed. By the way, you can check out the video. There's a link here and a link there. And you can even download all the multi-tracks of that session if you want to hear ribbon mics on a drum kit recorded in a great studio. And when I came here to LA to visit the NAMM show, I went to the AEA booth, met the guys from AEA, wonderful people by the way, and they invited me here to check out how they build their microphones. Let's get started. Time to have a look at the workshop. Joey is going to introduce us to all the nice people who put together those lovely microphones.
Nice.
It depends, it depends. Let's have a look.
This is where all the mics are created. We have Morgan making 88 motors.
Yeah, doing the wires
Nice.
on.
Doing the wires. Anthony's about to be cutting ribbon. Oh, we came at a great time. Here, come over here and see this. So what are you doing, Anthony?
I'm cutting some ribbon right here.
Some of our ribbon material, and he is placing it between two pieces of tissue paper, and then it's on this little template that we have made, and then he just perfectly and elegantly cuts precise ribbon. Everyone kind of has their own slightly different way of doing it, so it's always fun to see different people's way.
Is it difficult?
I tried to do it a couple times. I didn't like it.
Okay.
But with most of these like really fine handwork, you can't just try it a couple times and see if you like it. Like you have to do it every day for like a month, and then you get the hang of it. Like same thing with ribboning. Like you can't just try to pick it up one day.
But it's all handmade. Why aren't machines cutting that? Is that?
We've tried. I tried to laser cut some. It didn't turn out well.
Really?
But I've talked to other people. I was just at NAMM talking to other people. They're like, I'm going to try to figure it out. And I'm like, good luck. Let me know how it goes. And
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
I'm putting wires on the 88 motors. This top wire has shrink tubing on it. Bottom wire doesn't. It's also a little bit shorter because it doesn't need to be as long on these ones. So we just screw them in. We use a certain torque which is set on this thing so I don't have to mess around too much with it. Yeah, and we do usually batches of 30 of these. Then we put them in the drawer over there, and our guy who only works weekends comes in and ribbons them up like magic.
Ribbons them up.
We have here is a ribboned KU5 motor. So it's got the magnets right there. This is the return. And then the whole motor mount. Caitlin ribboned this, and then now is bringing them to life. Just mounts them there. A bunch of acoustical magic to get the supercardioid pattern. It goes down into an acoustical labyrinth down here. There's plenty of videos of people talking about this. Beautiful mic, but here it is in real life.
Great microphone.
It's a great microphone. Kevin here, he's the production manager, making sure this ship runs tight. And he's over here making 88 pins. Like he's putting these little pins onto the wires. Look at this beautiful handwork.
What we got here?
This is a ribboned microphone, ribboned 44, one of our special edition ones, because you see it has a custom inductor in here and a inductor switch. So we're only making 44 of these. So
44 44s.
44 44s, yeah. And there's videos of us at NAMM talking about all this stuff if you want to look it up. But this is the only inside look, as far as I know, on one of these. So, here you go. You can see the ribbon in there, blocked by this puff shield, and got these series of neodymium magnets that get this super high output through it.
Wow.
Yeah, this thing's awesome. We're very, very happy with how it turned
Everything
out.
big transformers.
Everything big. Yeah. Andy, where are you? This is Andy. So Andy's the QC guy. Everything goes through him. He's going to listen to them right here. So right now he has a bunch of N8s that he's going to listen to, check the polarity, make sure the polarity is not reversed, which barely ever happens. We always do it perfectly the first time. And then measure the frequency response and maybe match them like with N8s. We're going to do stereo matches, so within half a dB, plus or minus.
So when the mics have gone through your hands,
yeah,
they go out into the world, or
then they come over here and we have them up in here. We'll have to log every one of them. We log all the serial numbers, keep good track of them, and we send them over here to Eddie, who is our current shipping guy. And here Eddie is.
Hello, Eddie.
Packing 88s. Be packing some DIs today. Brand new DIs.
Oh, you got DI boxes now, right?
Yeah,
Active DI boxes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Active DIs. Just came out at NAMM.
Okay. Got to check them out, okay.
So this is where all the parts get ordered, and all the preamp and buffer amps are all kitted here. So we keep all the parts here ready, so in case we need to build some quick, we just pull them out.
But it's so nice because it's also so tiny and small here. So so
there's
something I already said, like to Julie, that there's something romantic about this. It's cool.
And we're not. Everything. We know all our machinists. I go and shake their hands and make prototypes with them and talk with them in person. It's like they're all within a 50-mile radius, mostly closer.
Incredible.
Yeah. Tiffany, she's probably not here right now because she's driving to one of these places to pick up our parts from either like a painter or an anodizer, silk screener, machinist, anything like that. So it's really special, and it feels like we're like part of an ecosystem of people creating something beautiful for the world.
Let's get a little more technical.
Yeah.
I have one very basic question, and that is, how do you voice a ribbon microphone? For example, there's the N8 and N22 microphones. One is for near field, the other one is like they have different bass response, different proximity effect, different high-end response. How do you do that?
Yeah, I feel like the N8 and the N22 is the perfect intro example, because the buffer circuit is the same, the transformer is the same, the ribbon size and tension is the same, but
really? Okay.
the only difference is like with all of our big ribbons, with the 84, 44, N8, and N22, is you have the same big ribbon, and what you put around it is how you start affecting those things. And the easiest way to think about it is there's the low frequency response, which you change by adding more acoustical material around it that is going to prevent plosives and the high SPL and all that stuff. But the trade-off is that you're rolling off low frequencies.
Okay, so the more you put around
shit
it,
you
the
put-
more
are
you
we allowed
roll
to
off, the more
cuss?
shit you put around it,
Yeah.
the less boomy it gets, so
Yeah.
to say. All right.
And what tends to happen there is also, especially with acoustical fabric and really tightly woven stuff, is you're also going to roll out a bit of the highs. So we have the N8, and the frequency response is like this. It's got pretty flat and maybe even boosted lows for if you get proximity effect, but it's a pretty flat frequency response. And then for the N22, we take a piece of perforated metal and make a circle around that, make a circle of it, and then wrap acoustical fabric around that very tightly, and then slide that over the motor. So it's the same ribbon, but it's got this really intense material blocking it from the outside world and protecting it. And then you take the frequency response and it goes like that. So if you use it far away, it sounds thin and kind of weird.
Okay, so it's intended to go close.
Exactly. So you have to use it up close to counteract the protections that you put in place. So like if you use an N8 up that close, just without any EQ, it's going to sound kind of crazy.
Right. So the whole idea was to, when ribbons get too boomy because you want to get close, you better use the N22. And when you are further away, you use the N8.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm averse to telling people how to use the microphones.
Of course, but
I've been saying because we were just at Enamel Week, and I'm like, they're paintbrushes. You do whatever you want with them, you know.
Exactly. Yeah,
people use the N8 up close all the time, and you know, it might be a little bit dangerous, but if you're willing to pay for the re-ribbon, do whatever you want. Yeah.
And now you came up with a new product, N13, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That sits in between, or the two?
In a way, it sits in between. It's designed, specifically the proximity effect is designed to be optimized for midfield. So that's where it's not going to be too boomy and it's not going to be too thin. The high frequency response is the brightest we've ever done in a ribbon mic. And what's especially interesting about it as compared to the rest of the AEA line is it's a 1.2 micron ribbon rather than a 1.8.
So for this one, you changed the ribbon.
We changed the ribbon. Well, the ribbon size and the ribbon thickness. So it's more close to like a Fat 77 in bidirectional, and then it's a 1.2 micron rather than 1.8. So 66% the thickness, and that gives it this like really nice transient response.
And what happens if you make a ribbon larger or thicker or thinner or what?
That's a harder question to answer because there's so many other things that affect that. Like when I first started working here, I would ask Wes these questions like, what are the rules of thumb? Like, what do I just need to know? And it's just like,
it depends.
It's too complicated. Like, because there's also the corrugation that you choose. By making the ribbon longer, how are you changing your motor design in order to achieve that? Like, so in science, you know, you're trying to just change one variable, but if you change the ribbon length, for example, you're not really changing one variable because what you're doing is you're also going to be changing the resonant frequency. It's hard to really truly change one variable. Like another example would be like, okay, what if you went like a wider ribbon, but then you would be changing the gap, and then as you change the gap, you're decreasing the magnetic flux through the ribbon, and then you're not giving. So like keeping variables constant is really hard, and a lot of it is just like understanding the basic science and then iterating. Like it's you take the science and you think about it through the lens of science, and then it's art from there on out.
Okay. So there's nothing you can say about like whatever. There's more volume when the ribbon gets larger, or there's more low end, or there's more transient response gets better when it's maybe thinner or something.
Yeah, so I'll go over some of those. So transient response is a great one. As you get thinner, you get that great transient response. The more Gauss you put through the ribbon, the more output you get. Take like the N8 and the 440. So they have the same buffer circuit, same transformer, the same ribbon, but you're going to get like 12 dB more, or maybe like 8 to 12 dB more out of this mic because there's so much magnetic. Don't quote me on that. It's some amount more. I can't remember exactly. I just went the name. I can't remember anything. Some amount of significant amount more sensitivity from the 440 because of the neodymium magnets. Like this whole thing is this magnetic structure designed to put a shitload of Gauss through the ribbon, and because of the right-hand rule, you know, everybody remembers the right-hand rule from physics. That's how you're getting your voltage out of the ribbon. So that is a great one. And in a lot of ways, the way we think about it, it's not really going to be changing your frequency response at all. The more Gauss you put up until like a certain point, then I'm just covering my bases in case there are any like super nerds there that are going to be like, oh, he actually doesn't know. So I recognize there could be damping effects and all that sort of stuff. But generally, it doesn't seem like our C and our CX seem to have a very consistent frequency response as you add that extra magnetic flux through the ribbon. Another thing that is probably the most important, at least for what gives AEA our sound, is our obsession with the dog bone shape. I mean, I'm sure you've seen like our motors, like our transducers, if we hold like that 88, if it's not a shell, if we held it up, you would see that our transducers go like this, right around the center. and if you could look through the 440, you could see the same thing. This is like a very RCA design and an RCA approach to ribbon. That's in order to minimize the front to back path, which maximizes the high frequency response of the ribbon. So we are very interested in doing things like that, and other companies, which you could imagine, like Bang & Olufsen inspired microphones that have those big wings, they are making other engineering trade-offs, and like the 121, for example, is to really get a bunch of output and use these giant magnets and this giant motor, and they're getting way more output and way more flux through the ribbon than we are in our small microphone designs. But the high frequency response is going to be less. I mean, if you just think of like a Royer compared to an N8, like they sound very different, and a lot of that is because of the motor design.
Okay.
And the front to back. So every designer and engineer and team is making these choices and saying like, we want it to sound like this right out the gate without EQ, or we want it to sound like this right out of the gate without EQ. And
but it's always a combination of a lot of things, and it's always the whole package that okay.
Yeah. And that's not even talking about transformers, but
right.
I don't know how much time you want to spend.
Or magnets, right? You mentioned neodymium magnets, right? So you use different magnets and materials for different microphones, or?
Well, I've never used Alnico, but like the original RCA, still Kohle's 4038s are using Alnico.
Heavy.
That's very heavy, yeah. And people have claimed that affects the sound. I mean, I guess technically, if you're hitting the transformer less hard, you could be getting a different sound out of it. But I don't think magnets sound different. So my brain's like going like all these possible routes we can go down, but I think it's mostly just going to be boring. So I think we should stop there.
Okay, all right. Let's move on. Tomorrow I got a reamping session. So I'm going to record some chuga heavy metal guitars, high gain distortion. And the idea is to do that only with AEA ribbon microphones.
Great.
It's the same song again. I already recorded the drums with AEA Mics exclusively. It sounded awesome. So now we're going to add the next chapter to this.
Great. That was a great video, by the way.
Thank you. So 4x12 cab, low tuned heavy metal guitars, lots of low end, only close micing because that's how you do it, where I come from.
Yeah.
And what do you recommend? I mean, N22, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Because of the reduced proximity effect.
Yeah. So I would do all of our near field high SPL mics. That would be the N22, the R92, and the KU5A. And then
what are the differences here?
So the N22 and the R92, I feel like a lot of the differences that I notice are the transformer. So the R92 is passive. You have more of like a vintagey style transformer. The top end is going to be more
rolled off
like smoothed out, like sort of
more classic.
I want to say more classic. And then the N22 is going to be like a lot more crisp in that high end.
That is your most modern sounding ribbon, right? Or the N22 kind of for close
for close mic, it's the most modern. So they're going to sound pretty similar. They both have a lot of protection on them. You might have a little bit more low end rolled off on the 92, and then because of the puff shield on the front, there could be a little bit of like a mid frequency boost, but generally like the high frequencies I think are where you're really gonna.
So two options going into that direction. N22 or was it 90?
R92.
92.
That guy.
That one.
Yeah. And
I have two more speakers, so
you got two more. So then I would go KU5A. That has a smaller ribbon. It's cardioid, so you're going to be rejecting a bit of the room sound.
Is that the 7K mic that I used on the snare drum?
No, it's it's a KU4.
KU4.
So the KU5A is the little sort of BK5 inspired mics, the end address.
Okay, that one.
And that one is going to
cardioid. Okay.
It's super cardioid, so it's a smaller ribbon, so you're gonna have some less low end, and it's very protected, so you're gonna be able to really blast that thing. I mean, all these three are very protected mics, so you're not gonna have any trouble with them. But I would say in the high frequency, you might find that it's a little bit less detailed than the N22 because there's so much more acoustical material protecting it than there is in the than the 22. So I would say so if it's like super like distorted and like crunchy and like intense in the top frequencies, then you might end up preferring one of the more like the R92, for example, because of how much it's smoothing it out. Okay. Like you know, and that's why we make so many different mics. It's like they all complement different situations.
Right.
So, and then the fourth one, I would say either like a 44 or an R84. I would maybe
The most classic sounding ones?
most classic, yeah.
And this one is more like the affordable version of that?
They're very similar internally. They got like, they're made to, the R84 was made to be like a more economical version of the 44. So I think that would also do you quite well.
I think I would prefer that one because it's more affordable and like for people watching, not everybody can afford this.
Not yet.
So no,
one can dream.
So this might be the fourth option.
Yeah. So you could have two passive mics, the R92 and the R84, and then two active mics, the KU5A and the N22, and then you'll get both transformer flavors. You'll get a variety of different AEA styles all in one.
Perfect.
I'm very excited to see that. That's gonna be cool.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
So was that nerdy enough for you? Are you still here? if you are, I think it's time to move on. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to grab those 4 microphones that Joey recommended, and I'm going to head over into the studio to do the reamping session. And that's going to be another video in maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I'm going to reamp the guitars of the song, of the Tool House song, where I already recorded the drums with the ribbon mics. And once again, you guys can download all the multitracks. But time to move on. That was only one microphone. Let's start with the 57 again, and now I want to go to the R92. We're using the bright front of that microphone. 57. And the grind is back. You hear that? Sounds very different from the other ribbon microphone. Thick low end, a little more scooped than the lower mids, but then you have that typical dynamic microphone grind in the highs. It actually sounds like a thicker 57. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and to ring the bell. Ding dong. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Greetings from Los Angeles. I see you in hell, motherfuckers. Bye-bye. Today, we're going to visit the AEA Microphones workshop, where they make some of the finest ribbon microphones out there. In this video, I want to do 3... Get the... Führ mal weiter. Alter. Deswegen stehen bei uns 2 Leute hinten drauf. Ja.